Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Wake and Take. It's your boy Jason, and we've got some football to talk about today. Today is Wednesday, and it is custom here on Wednesdays to do a little bit of a market watch. I've got 8 buys and sells for you guys to help your fantasy football team get a little bit better as we start to look towards next season or make our final championship push as we're now, nearing here this mid-season. So we've got 8 players to talk about today, whether we are buying or selling. So go ahead, take out your coffee, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, and good morning to everyone popping in so far this morning. Alex, Hudson, Lucas, Zulu, Bach, the Snowman, Ryan. Thank you all so much to the house. You guys, again, as always, just so thankful you guys tune in here, spending your mornings with me. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening as well, guys. The Wake and Take podcast can be found via the link in the description. If you can't catch us live, you can damn sure listen to us. As the Snowman says in the chat, we've only got one thing to talk about in terms of NFL news, and of course, we're going to talk about it on the Market Watch as well. But DeAndre Hopkins has been traded to the Chiefs. It's unbelievable. I've got to say, it's unbelievable. What a landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins, and what a move for Kansas City, right? Imagine, just a few weeks ago, they were a team potentially in the market for Davante Adams, and they would have to give up a second for Davante Adams. But now, no. They only had to give up a conditional 4th-round pick to get DeAndre Hopkins, who, arguably is basically just as good as Davante Adams, at least in my eyes. I love myself some DeAndre Hopkins. I really do. Just one of my favorite types of receivers. I love those guys who can make those great contested catches, the good red zone threats, the good size, even if he never separates or anything. He's just so good at wide receiver, and I really do think that his skill set is a fantastic match, really, for what Kansas City wants, for what Patrick Mahomes wants, and I think he's going to fit into this offense, superbly. It's going to be a beautiful thing. It might take a couple weeks, for that connection to establish. It's not like they have worked together really much, Patrick Mahomes and DeAndre Hopkins, but I think they'll figure it out quickly, and I think we'll definitely see a lot of touchdowns coming from DeAndre Hopkins in Kansas City. It's going to be huge. I'm very much excited for it. Really great move for Kansas City. It's just seriously like such a great move by Kansas City to be able to get him for as cheap as he was able to get, as they were able to get him for. Again, it's a 5th-round pick that can become a 4th, and that's just so cheap for a Hall of Fame wide receiver who still, to me, hasn't really lost a step. I know that this year he has been disappointing, but most of that is due to the fact he was injured heading into the season, and the quarterback play in Tennessee, as well as just the offense in general, has just been abysmal. So landing with a good quarterback on a good offensive scheme, where he also doesn't necessarily have to be the focal point or the best wide receiver on the team, I think that is pretty sweet. I really do. Fantastic move for DeAndre Hopkins. Fantastic move for the Chiefs. And honestly, probably a good move for the Titans. I don't know. They're not really getting a lot in return, right? I'm not sure what they'll really be able to do with this draft pick, but at least they've kind of accepted their fate and are looking towards moving on. Maybe they could get something for Calvin Ridley too, heading into the trade deadline. So kind of keep your eyes on this Tennessee Titans team, but especially we are buying DeAndre Hopkins. We're buying DeAndre Hopkins, guys. What are we talking about here, right? Come on. We were already talking about buying DeAndre Hopkins in Tennessee. We are damn sure buying DeAndre Hopkins in Kansas City. As you guys know, we've not given up on this player. Never could. Again, I love myself some DeAndre Hopkins. I just couldn't do it. But right now on Keep Trade Cut, I'm sure this stands to change, right? But as of right now, he is the wide receiver 86 on Keep Trade Cut in Dynasty rankings. And so far this season, he's only finding himself as the wide receiver 74 in PPR. So there's just a lot of disgust in DeAndre Hopkins managers' kind of mouths right now. They've kind of been looking for any opportunity to get him off their team. I'm sure he was dropped in a lot of leagues, in last night's waiver run and this morning's waiver run. So he might have been, on the waiver wire in a lot of places. I saw him picked up in a couple of my more shallow leagues this morning. So definitely take a look out for him. And then whoever picked him up, if it wasn't you, go send him an offer. I guarantee that his price, while it is more expensive than it was yesterday, is still worth paying. Still worth paying. Again, he still had 1,000 yards last year. He still had like 7 touchdowns. He still looked good. And he's looked decent this season despite the injury and the bad quarterback play. I mean, not great, obviously. But again, really good fit in Kansas City. I don't think he's really lost a step. I would definitely be seeing what it costs to get DeAndre Hopkins. I saw him actually traded in one of my leagues this morning. He went for a 2026 second round pick and a 2025 third, so a second and third. I would say I offered them just a 2025 second. They preferred the 2026 second and 2025 third instead of just the next year's second. But hey, to each their own. That's about what I would pay as a second in Dynasty, especially if I am competing and need that wide receiver help. That feels about right. And I know that might seem steep, but again, I still firmly believe in DeAndre Hopkins. This is a Hall of Fame caliber wide receiver. Now having Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball on an Andy Reid offense, I mean, like, it really is pretty good. I realize he has a knee injury. I said that multiple times, but thank you, Harry Snowman. He's still playing through it and looking fine. And it's not like DeAndre Hopkins is an athletic beast. He just makes great catches. He's going to be in the end zone. Yes, they will manage his touches. But that's what we want. This is perfect. It's going to be awesome. So get DeAndre Hopkins. I would be sending a second for him. And then we can also go ahead and play a little bit of the name game. We'll do the dynasty rankings on Keep Trade Cut. Again, he's the wide receiver 86. And again, he's going to go up. So I do want to go ahead and just play a little bit of the name game. In fact, he's already gone from 86 to 85 in the 2 hours since the show sheet creation. Here we go. These are the wide receivers ahead of him in dynasty rankings currently. I'll stop when I would rather have the other player. Okay. So basically, I'm just naming players that you could conceivably offer with not much else to get DeAndre Hopkins. Tutu Atwell, Trey Palmer, Jalen Naylor, Juju Smith-Schuster, Joshua Palmer, Gabe Davis, Roman Wilson, Alan Lazard, Jermaine Burton, Trey Tucker, Jordan Whittington, Tyler Lockett, Hollywood Brown, Jawan Jennings, Andre Yoshivas, Calvin Ridley, Alec Pierce, Jalen Tolbert, Keenan Allen, Cortland Sutton, Luke McCaffrey, Jerry Jeudy, Troy Franklin, Michael Wilson, Rashad Bateman, Jacoby Myers, Quentin Johnston, Jalen McMillan, Jalen Polk, Christian Kirk, Adonai Mitchell. This is where I think it starts to get closer and kind of depends on where your team is at. But Demario Douglas, Christian Watson, Wan'Dale Robinson, this is now the 50s, right? Like, we're now in the wide receiver 50s in this dynasty rankings. We've already named 30 wide receivers that I would rather have DeAndre Hopkins over. And I mean, it goes a little bit further too. And again, just kind of depends on where your team is at. Like, if you want to, value the youth, then fine. Lean Christian Watson, lean like a Ricky Pearsall. But if you're trying to win this year and you can trade a Khalil Shakir, you can trade a Rashid Shaheed, a Romeo Doubs, a Xavier Legette, a Deontay Johnson, a Josh Downs. For DeAndre Hopkins, you do it. I think about as far as I would go. This is crazy. I might even send like a Michael Pittman. Call me crazy. I might even send a Michael Pittman. And I think in that scenario, you might even be able to get a little bit of a cherry on top, whether it be like a third round pick or something like that. But that's about as far as I would go. Again, he's wide receiver 85 right now in Keep Trade Cut in terms of dynasty rankings, wide receiver 70 in terms of his seasonal output. You can send something for him. And I would go as far as to say I would even send Michael Pittman for DeAndre Hopkins in like a third, or like a Jalen Wright on top of the DeAndre Hopkins to kind of close the gap a little bit there. But DeAndre Hopkins is going to average more points per game than Michael Pittman will the rest of the season on probably a limited workload. Yeah, I want DeAndre Hopkins pretty bad. He's going to be a big part of this Chiefs kind of push for the rest of the season for sure. And I think we'll probably start to see a little bit less Travis Kelce. Of course, a little bit less Juju Smith-Schuster. But for the most part, I think DeAndre Hopkins is mostly just going to mix it, right? Like, he's going to get 5 to 6 targets a game. Nothing too crazy. But that's awesome on Kansas City, because 2 to 3 of those are going to be end zone targets, not even red zone targets, but literal end zone targets. It's going to be nice. I'm just telling you now, it's going to be nice. Go ahead and try to get DeAndre Hopkins before he has like a 2 touchdown. He's going to literally have like a 2-catch, 2 touchdown game. Like, that's what I'm expecting from D-Hop, really. Like 4 to 5 targets, maybe 6 targets, but he's almost always going to have a touchdown, or at least like multiple touchdown opportunities a game. I have high hopes for, maybe not high hopes, but I have good hopes for DeAndre Hopkins. It's going to be nice. I think it's just a really, really good fit, even with the injury that he's kind of playing through. I think that they'll be able to manage his workload well and just get him the ball in the right situations, which is just something that Tennessee hasn't been able to do. So D-Hop, I think, is a big buy right now. I think you could get him for a little bit cheaper than you might think, even after this news. And we're also going to be buying Xavier Worthy. You know, if you want in on this Chiefs offense, you now have an awesome opportunity. All the hype is going to be going to DeAndre Hopkins now. And Xavier Worthy was already a buy before the DeAndre Hopkins news, right? Like he's kind of had a couple down weeks. He hasn't really stepped up in a big way since the Rashee Rice injury. And, you know, coming out of the bye week, he only had 3 receptions for 19 yards. So people were really starting to kind of panic a little bit about Xavier Worthy. And now the Chiefs have traded for DeAndre Hopkins. Sure, some Xavier Worthy managers are looking to kind of recoup something from Xavier Worthy at this point. This is a really nice buy low opportunity for me, especially in Dynasty, but I think redraft as well. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is going to take some coverage away, which should open the door for a player like Xavier Worthy to get a bit more open, to show a bit more explosiveness than he's able to when he's a little bit more of like a defensive focal point, right? Like teams are kind of looking at Xavier Worthy without Rashee Rice. Now they have to worry about DeAndre Hopkins too. And Xavier Worthy, again, he had already kind of started to lose a lot of fantasy value over the last couple of weeks. He's only the Dynasty wide receiver 30, and he was up to like wide receiver 16 after like week 2 of the season, especially after week 1, he was on fire. And so far this year, he's only the wide receiver 42 in terms of a seasonal kind of production. But he's still attached to Patrick Mahomes. He still runs that sub 4.3. He's still incredibly fast on an awesome offense. And Dynasty, I would definitely be looking to get Xavier Worthy right now as a result of this DeAndre Hopkins move. I think this is going to cause a little bit of a dip in Worthy's value. And you got to buy him. You really, I mean, like this is like, if you've been looking for a time, I mean, again, we've kind of been talking about buying Xavier Worthy loosely. Podfather has definitely been talking about buying Xavier Worthy as a buy low right now. And this was before the DeAndre Hopkins news. Now it's probably dropped even a little bit more. Probably not too much. I mean, like, the fantasy community is smart, especially in Dynasty for the most part. But I'm sure, like, again, wide receiver 30, like right after the news on Keep Trade Cut. So he's probably dropped to like wide receiver 32, 33 now. And that's just, again, a little bit of a dip in value. With his athleticism on the team he is, as young as he is, with the production we've already seen from him, you got to buy Xavier Worthy. No, really no question about it. You got to buy Xavier Worthy. You got to buy DeAndre Hopkins. Get these Chiefs receivers. I think that it's going to get better from here. Okay, where do we go next? Got 7 or 6 more for you. Where do I want to go? We will now go to Tua. We talked about it a few weeks ago. And let me know, because I try my best to stay away from people we've already talked about on this show, but I thought about it last night and I was like, well, if I'm still buying them, I should probably still talk about it. And I know we've talked about Tua a couple times already on the Market Watch, but still buy him. Again, I mean, his value is going up and up now, right? Like he has now officially, started his return. I think even this week he's expected to play. So he's going to be a little bit more expensive. But I still think there's this air of caution, I guess, would be like just people are still worried about Tua in the fantasy football space, especially in dynasties. The Dynasty QB 23 right now on Keep Trade Cut. And it's important to remember that week 1 he was the QB 9, and last season he was the QB 9. And this Dolphins offense clearly needs him. They have looked awful without him. And it's really like, to me, they shouldn't have. Like, they've got yak monsters, and they just couldn't. They just couldn't yak. Tua is a huge part of this offense. He's returning. I would buy him before he goes in there. Because, look, we all know it. He's literally going to come back this week and throw for like 3 touchdowns and 250-plus yards. Tyreek Hill's going to have a ceiling game. Devon Achane's going to look good again. And everyone's going to be like, okay, whatever. Let's just get Tua. So I want to buy him. Again, in Dynasty, in Redraft, in Single QB, in Superflex, I want Tua. I understand the trepidation in buying a player that's had as many concussions as he has that could literally die on the field as a result of a concussion. But he's still going out there to play. He said it himself. Like, he loves this game enough to die for it. And that is very morbid, Very morbid. We hope that doesn't fucking happen. I want him to wear the damn Guardian cap. I'm honestly shocked that he's like so against the Guardian cap. But that just shows you again, like how much he just wants to play ball. Like this guy just wants to play ball. That's his life's passion, his life's work. Of course he's going to play ball. That's why we said to still buy him weeks ago when it was still unclear, because we knew he was going to come back. He just plays ball. He's just a baller, man. He just plays ball. So we're buying Tua. We're getting him. Again, he was a top 10 quarterback heading into his injury. He was a top 10 quarterback last year. He's returning. And I want to buy him before he returns and scores points. Because he's gonna score points. He's gonna score points. Like, he's just gonna. This Dolphins offense has looked so bad without him, and they're gonna look good again with him. It's not like he has like a true injury to come back from. It was just a concussion. It was a concussion. That doesn't really affect your on-field performance unless it really affects his mentality and he's playing scared, but he doesn't. I mean, like, he's not even wearing the Guardian cap. Like, he seems fine. So I want Tua really bad. I know that, again, it's probably gone up a little bit from like 25 to 23, but still worth buying. And I honestly, I don't know. We don't have to agree on his decision, but as fantasy players, we do have to take opportunities and get the value, right? Like, you're never going to be able to get Tua at this price again, unless he gets another concussion, which, I mean, he might, but still, doesn't matter. We want the points. He's going to get the points, and he's cheap. Get Tua. That's basically how I should have summed it up, right? Next, we'll be going to Marvin Harrison Jr., and we're buying him in Dynasty. We're buying him in Redraft especially. But, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It's impatience, I guess. I don't know. The way the fantasy community is treating Marvin Harrison Jr. right now is kind of insane to me. Like, oh, I'm sorry, he's had 2 bad weeks because he got injured. Like, oh no, he had 0 because he picked up a concussion early in the game. And then the next week in the return, like where, you know, he wasn't really able to practice as much or be a part of the game plan. And the offense clearly made a game plan not really surrounding Marvin Harrison Jr. So he came back and only had 6 targets and only had 21 yards. Like, of course, if you tuned into our Instagram live, if you tuned into Podfather Starter Sit, it was Sit Marvin Harrison Jr. last week. No one expected a big game from him. And we've already seen what type of production he can have from weeks 2, 3, 4, 29, 17, 15 points. 4 touchdowns in those 3 weeks. I mean, like, what do you, 6'3", 200 pounds, 94th percentile college dominator? Absolutely crushed it at Ohio State. And we're just like, couple bad weeks. Cardinals offense not looking as good as we wanted it to be. So we're just fading Marvin Harrison Jr., calling him a bust. I don't get it. I don't agree with it. I want to buy into him. I do. I do agree he's a little slow, but he was never fast. Never been fast. It's fine. Like, he's out there doing fine. He's 7th and amongst all wide receivers in touchdowns. His ADOT is 11th. He's 12th in air yards. He's 2nd in target rate versus man. I don't know. I think we just need to exercise a little bit more patience. You know, I think that we've just been, a little bit spoiled with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. But even then, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson kind of started off slow. And again, in Marvin Harrison Jr.'s case, he's already had a ceiling game and 2 like really good games. And then just a couple duds because of injury. So I don't know. I think we're just kind of overreacting a little bit to Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he's going to be fine. And I was able to get it in a couple leagues. In one league, I sold him in another. I bought him in Dynasty and I sold him in a guillotine league, but it was a really good trade. So I'm not selling him truly. It was just a really good trade came to me. I'm buying Marvin Harrison Jr. I think the value is right now. I got him for, my trade was DK Metcalf and Cooper Kupp for Marvin Harrison Jr. and Xavier Legette. Like, that is, to me, way too attainable of a price for a probable perennial top dynasty wide receiver, right? Like, this was a player that everyone was just so excited about. But because he skipped the combine, people just want to hate him. They just want to hate him because they didn't, get to see him run around in his underwear at the combine. he's fine, guys. He's going to be fine. And even if it's not this year, next year, but it's probably still going to be this year. We've already seen it, and we're going to see it again. This one's just a strange one to me, the kind of hate for Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he's going to turn it around, and I want to buy him, especially in Dynasty, but in redraft as well. I think he's a lot more attainable than he should be. Get Marvin Harrison Jr. And yeah, that might be the case. Maybe Kyler Murray's the issue. I honestly don't think Kyler Murray is the issue. I just think it's the offensive coordinator. I think it's the head coach. You know, again, the head coach is, or not again, I haven't really said this before, but the head coach was a defensive coordinator. So it makes sense that the offense is kind of struggling a little bit. I don't know. I think it'll be turned around. I really do. And so I want to get into Marvin Harrison Jr. while I still can. And I honestly, I would go ahead and say that probably all the Cardinals are buys right now. I think Trey McBride is a little bit more obtainable than he should be. I think Kyler Murray's a little bit more obtainable than he should be. And we've talked about Trey Benson, a million times at this point, but Trey Benson as well. But buy Marvin Harrison Jr. That's what we're really here for, especially in Dynasty. We're trying to buy him. But in redraft too, I think, again, like he is the wide receiver 31 in seasonal right now. So you can get him a little bit easier than you should. Get MHJ. Next, we'll stay in division. We're selling Kyren Williams. Right? Part of this is just going to be, he's not going to gain any more value. Like, this is the ceiling. But also, if we are to be buying into the rumors that the Rams are shopping Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp, we have to take note. Even if it doesn't happen, it sounds like the Rams are accepting this season as a lost year, which generally doesn't mean good things for a running back that, for the most part, is dependent on touchdowns. He literally hasn't had a game this year without a touchdown. Kyren Williams. Like, he scores touchdowns. That's what he does. If Cooper Kupp or Matthew Stafford leave, that would be pretty damn bad for the Los Angeles Rams. Pretty damn bad. And even if they don't, again, it sounds like the Rams are accepting that this is a lost season, which to me suggests that they could try to work Blake Corum a little bit more, get him up to speed. Right? Either way, right now is the Dynasty RB6, seasonal RB5. He's not getting any more valuable. He's just not. You know? Like, he's not going to pass Kenneth Walker. He's not going to pass Jahmyr Gibbs, Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson. So get Kyren, or sell Kyren Williams while you still can. There's so many different paths. So many different paths for moving on from Kyren Williams. Again, even if they don't end up trading Cooper Kupp or Matthew Stafford, it still sounds like the Rams are accepting this year as lost, which just doesn't bode well for a running back, especially a running back like Kyren Williams, who's leading all running backs in touchdowns, who's doing so well in points per game, getting all the opportunities, the red zone touches, the goal line carries. You got to sell him while you still can. I think a fun one would be like Devon Achane plus, because as we're talking about, I think the Dolphins offense is going to get back on track. A Jonathan Taylor plus, a Derrick Henry plus. If you want to get crazy, maybe a Jonathan Taylor plus. It's just crazy that I can even say these things and they're reasonable. So sell Kyren Williams while you still can. Sell. And also sell Jonathan Brooks. This again, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat. Do you guys want me to bring up players multiple times? I was thinking if I'm still convicted in my take, I might as well still talk about it. Right? And I just don't want you guys to forget about selling Jonathan Brooks. It's been a couple weeks since I mentioned it on the Market Watch, so I just wanted to bring it back. Jonathan Brooks right now is just way overvalued. He's just overvalued. Simple as that. He is the Dynasty RB12 and has never played a down. Just literally never played a down. And there's a running back on his team that's playing really, really well. I do not believe, I do not think, and I know even, there's no way, there's absolutely no way in hell that when Jonathan Brooks returns from an ACL injury, that they're just going to give him bell cow usage. And that's what he's valued as. There is absolutely no way in hell. If anything, that might turn into that by the end of the year. Maybe. But he's going to come back and Chuba Hubbard's still going to get the lion's share. And then, they'll probably start splitting pretty fairly, pretty evenly. And that's probably just how the rest of the season is going to go. I don't really think they're just going to throw Jonathon Brooks coming off an ACL injury to the Wolves and give him a ton of opportunity. They got him for next year. And so I just want to sell him while I can. You're going to be able to rebuy him. Again, look at the value loss of all the other rookie running backs in this draft class. There was a point in time where Trey Benson was more valuable than Jonathon Brooks. And now you can take Jonathon Brooks and get 10 Trey Bensons. So that's the exact trade I would make. I would send Jonathon Brooks for Trey Benson plus Jalen Wright plus. Because both of those running backs were also drafted for 2025, just like Jonathon Brooks. And yet, so many people have talked themselves into thinking Jonathon Brooks is a 2024 play. He's not. I wish he was. I thought he might be at some point if he was able to return by week 4, but we're now heading into week 8. And we still haven't seen him play. There's just no way in hell we see bell cow Jonathon Brooks this year. There's just no way. Unless a Chuba Hubbard injury happens. But again, we don't want that to happen, and that's not how it works, right? This is just the value play here. RB12 right now. You could get a lot of things for Jonathon Brooks, and I would be looking to do it. I would be looking to upgrade him. I would be looking to downgrade him. You got to get Jonathon Brooks off your team right now, because the second he gets activated, he's going to have a sub 40% snap share, and everyone's going to start panicking, and he's going to lose a ton of value. And lastly, Chuba Hubbard's contract is up at the end of the year. Okay? And that is usually good news. A lot of people are looking at that and saying Jonathon Brooks is going to be the true bell cow next year. Chuba Hubbard's going to be gone. Are you so sure? Ask yourself this. Are you really so sure that the Panthers aren't just going to re-sign Chuba Hubbard? Think about the running back market. Think about the running back market and what teams pay running backs. Who's going to pay Chuba Hubbard more than what the Panthers would pay? No one? No one? Chuba Hubbard's going to be a Carolina Panther next year, too. Really think he will. He could go to another team, but I think the more likely scenario is he signs a mediocrely, a potentially team-friendly deal with the Panthers. Mild. About market value, but a little bit less. They want Chuba. They do. I know I see a lot of chat saying that they're going to send him. I don't think they will. I really don't. And even if they do, there's still going to be another running back brought in. Dave Canales does like multiple running backs. And I just don't think that Chuba has the market, right? Not a good enough draft capital. Even if he's been producing, I really think that Chuba Hubbard's going to stay a Panther. Unless they get a crazy return, but I just don't think that's the case. And I just also think that Chuba Hubbard's going to test the free agent market and realize that he should just stay in Carolina. We got to sell Jonathon Brooks, guys. We just got to. Moving on. Rome Odunze. We're buying Rome Odunze. In seasonal, in Dynasty, we're getting Rome Odunze. Dynasty wide receiver 17 right now. Seasonal wide receiver 67. He has not really done much so far this year. Or has he? For the most part, he's been bad. But he did have that 100-yard touchdown game with Keenan Allen out. And he still has been kind of utilized even with Keenan Allen's return. And I also think that now coming out of the bye week, the Bears will probably throw him into the game plan a bit more too. I didn't say that Brooks is overrated. I said that Brooks is overvalued. Important distinction. But Rome Odunze is undervalued and underrated. This is a player that basically put the Washington Huskies on his back to help him in their national championship run. Yeah, it was Michael Penix, but it was Odunze too. Incredible athleticism, best comparable player to Justin Jefferson on PlayerProfiler.com. Top 10 draft capital for a reason. Just a very, very, very good wide receiver. And I really do think, and I think we all know it too, that the Bears' long-term plan is for him to be the wide receiver 1 in Chicago. That they want him to be an alpha, that they want to force feed him the ball, and they're just working up to that. They're just working up to that. They don't have to force that right now. They have Keenan Allen. They have DJ Moore. They have Cole Kmet. But as the season goes along, Rome Odunze is going to get more involved. And especially next year, he's going to be a huge part of the Chicago Bears offense. So I just want to get Rome Odunze, especially in Dynasty right now. But if he was dropped as well, pick him up. You don't have to start him. You don't have to start him. Yes, I would drop Calvin Ridley for Rome Odunze. And that's the thing. Rome Odunze is on waiver wires in seasonal leagues. And I just think it's asinine. This is a top 10 rookie pick. Pick number 9 of the Bears. Brought in the same class as his rookie quarterback, Caleb Williams. They've already done the little bear claw together. It's developing slowly but surely. And he's going to be a bigger part of the offense going forward. This is just a bet on talent. I see your comment, Harry Snowman. He is the 4th option right now. But I just don't think that's going to be the case forever. That's not the Bears' plan. You don't draft a wide receiver with the 9th overall pick with this type of athleticism and profile to be the wide receiver for forever. You know? You just don't. Especially when he's playing as well as he is, right? I mean, like, it's subjective. I mean, like, it's not the greatest in the world, but he's still putting up decent average numbers as, you know, a wide receiver 3. 16th in unrealized air yards, 13th in ADOT, 16th in red zone targets, 15th in deep targets, 22nd in contested catch rate. I mean, like, it's fine. And with everything going the way in Chicago right now, Caleb Williams getting better, the offense getting better, and the bye week, I just think that Rome Odunze is going to, as the year goes on, become more and more a part of the game plan, becoming the alpha in Chicago by the end of the year. Rome Odunze, big buy, especially in Dynasty, but I really think he has some redraft upside too. And yeah, it might take an injury, but I still think he will at least be a flex play by the end of the year, regardless of if there's an injury or not. But mostly, this is a Dynasty buy, but I want him. I want him so bad. His value right now is a little bit cheaper than it should be because, you know, we want instant gratification and it's not coming from him, but it will at some point. We will get gratified. He is a stud. Just not in the perfect situation right now for immediate success, but it's coming, rest assured, by Rome Odunze. And lastly, I'm going to leave you guys with a little bit of a Dynasty take as well. Although arguably one of these could be a redraft take. And in Dynasty, we are buying backup, we'll put quotes around it, backup rookie quarterbacks. Michael Penix is one, as shown by the picture, but so is J.J. McCarthy. And J.J. McCarthy, that's why it's quote-unquote backup, because he is a starter, but he's, you know, not playing this year. So didn't know how to phrase it, especially to lump these two together. But Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy right now are outside the top 18 in Dynasty quarterback rankings. And if your season's lost and you need a quarterback in a Superflex leagues, these are your 2 biggest buys right now. Like, you have to be doing whatever it takes to get J.J. McCarthy. You have to be doing whatever it takes to get Michael Penix in Dynasty Superflex especially. They're way too acquirable right now for people that don't need a quarterback right now. Like, if you are looking for next year, you got to get J.J. McCarthy and Michael Penix. And arguably, if you can get either of them and not have to give up too much like for this year, you might as well do it too. Because, I mean, these guys are going to be starting at some point, and they're going to be studs. Michael Penix may be taking a little bit longer, but you do always have the potential of the Kirk Cousins injury given his age and injury history. J.J. McCarthy, obviously going to be next year. He's out for the year. But in Dynasty, if you can get these guys, do it. And in Superflex Redraft, I think Michael Penix might as well be rostered too just in case, as he is on a good offense and he can't spin that damn ball. So we're buying these quarterbacks in Dynasty especially. We want them on our bench. We want them on our taxi squad. They're not going to really lose value. And they're not really going to go up in value either, unless, Kirk Cousins gets hurt. But it's clear that J.J. McCarthy is going to be awesome. I mean, there hasn't been a failure quarterback in Minnesota. They revived Sam Darnold, for God's sake. So buy J.J. McCarthy, buy Michael Penix. Get them on your teams. And that was the Market Watch. Good old Market Watch. Thank you, guys. Always love doing that. Going into the fantasy football market, talking the top buys and sells. I'm now going to go ahead and go into the chat and answer a few questions before letting you guys get back to your Wednesday. Scrolling up to the top, and then we'll work our way down. Thanks again, guys. Keep asking those questions. Status on Wake and Take mugs. If you guys can find a place where they're not just plain white or plain black, maybe plain black would be fine. I just wanted cool mugs, and I want cool mugs. And I can't find wholesale cool mugs. Okay. Or at least in terms of an online e-commerce way. I could print a bunch of cool mugs and then you guys would have to pay me and I'd have to ship them. But I don't want that headache. I just want to use a drop shipping site where they just print it on demand and ship it out to whoever orders it. But all of them are just plain white mugs. And I want a cool, I don't have one in here. Kind of like the camper mugs, the speckled paint and all that, the handle, the metal. That's what I want. I want those to be the Wake and Take mugs. And I just haven't found one yet, at least an e-commerce site that'll do that. So that's why. But if you guys are fine with just plain black Wake and Take mugs with the logo on it, I could probably get those to you tomorrow. I wanted cool mugs. No midseason awards in Wake and Take, although I would take the Big L award for sure. Although FUD trade this morning, maybe my season will turn around. You traded DeAndre Swift and Xavier Worthy for A.J. Brown? I would say that's a solid trade. I think in terms of value, that's equal value. I think, though, I might honestly rather have DeAndre Swift and Xavier Worthy for the upside, but, it's always nice to just get the best player in the deal, right? So I think this is a good one. A.J. Brown is a total stud, not against it at all. I just like the youth and upside of Swift and Worthy a little bit more, but I think that this was a good deal. Would you trade away Cooper Kupp and Garrett Wilson for Debo and Jaden Reed? I think so, but I don't feel great about it. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I really don't feel great about it. But yes, I would. Keep on going. You were offered Aaron Jones and T. Higgins for Jonathan Taylor. I would hold on to Jonathan Taylor. Would you drop Tolbert for Bateman? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think I would hold on. to Tolbert. Is Cedric Tillman low-key going to be the wide receiver one? I don't think so, but maybe. I'll say this. Cedric Tillman and DTR, they were high school teammates. So I think a lot of Cedric Tillman's usage was just literally as a result of DTR. So I am just curious to see again with Jameis Winston starting how he looks. But yeah, I mean, he played pretty well. I like him. I was able to get him in the Trade Gods League. He was somehow available in a 14-team dynasty, so I was able to pick him up. But I don't know if he's going to be the wide receiver one. A lot of people dropped DeAndre Hopkins. It's really funny. Would you trade Neighbors for Marvin Harrison Jr. plus? Depends on what that plus is. But yes. That is my kind of amendment to the Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson rule. I only trade Jamar Chase for Justin Jefferson plus, and I only trade Justin Jefferson for Jamar Chase plus. I would only trade Marvin Harrison Jr. for Malik Neighbors plus. I'd really only trade Malik Neighbors for Marvin Harrison Jr. plus. I like to work within kind of the same units there. All right. You would be trading Brian Robinson Jr. and David Njoku for Josh Jacobs and DeAndre Hopkins. Yes, I would do that. I would do that, Thomas. Give me the Josh Jacobs D-Hop side. Drop Dak or Bears defense for DeAndre Hopkins. Assuming you have two defenses, I guess the Bears defense or your other defense. I don't like rostering two defenses. Does Deontay Johnson go back to the Steelers? Probably not. Is Calvin really a buy now that he's the alpha in Tennessee? This is a great question. Man, I don't think so. I'm not a big Calvin Ridley guy, even with this. I'm going to go with no. I'm going to go with no. I mean, I guess it really depends. I mean, if you could get him for like a third, maybe. But I just don't think you're really ever going to find yourself feeling that confident in Calvin Ridley. I don't know. If you can get him for like a third, you take it. But I don't want to pay up for him for sure, especially if he has gone up in value as a result of this. Dallas learns their lesson and gets a running back. Hopefully they just draft one, right? Maybe they're going to get Ashton Janty. We already know that. Would you trade Stephon Diggs for DeAndre Swift? If you need a running back. Otherwise, no. Yes, I have a bird walking on my shoulder. Well, not anymore. He's next to me. But yeah, this is Thomas. This is Pip. Say hello, Pip. All right. Is Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, BTJ, Coleman, May, McMillan, Higgins, Downs, Ladd, Pop, Polk, Whittington, Pollard, Roschon a roster championship level? I mean, I guess so. It says you're 5-2. Sounds like you're on track with lots of youth. I would just look to maybe send some of that youth, like a Josh Downs, a Ladd McConkey, one of those two, maybe a Pollard, and try to get just something to help push yourself over the top. A Cooper Kupp, a DeAndre, probably a Cooper Kupp would be a fun target, and Amari Cooper. Let's see. Are we buying the Lucas Kroll? If he's on waivers. Is Jordan Travis a stash? Yeah. I don't even know what I was talking about here. What was I talking about? What was the deep stash here? What was the deep take? I don't even remember. Sometimes I just give deep takes. Rather spend a first on Tyreek Hill or Cooper Kupp? Tyreek. I'd rather spend a first on Tyreek. I traded Kate Otten for Dowdle in a Dynasty league. Sorry. Oops for sure. Yeah, you might as well just do that. I would honestly, Thomas, I think you could get a plus. I think you could trade Diggs for Swift plus. I don't know what those plus would be, but I think you could. And what are we doing with Tank Dell? We are crying about it. We are just literally crying. I have nothing good for you here. We are just literally sad. We are sad people. Go watch yesterday morning's Wake and Take again, right? I know you were there, Shaka. But go watch it again, and that's how we should be feeling about Tank Dell. Just the anger, the pure hatred, and tilt that I had yesterday morning. That's how we're feeling about Tank Dell. It's honestly just depressing because I don't know where I went wrong. I just don't know. I don't know where I went wrong as it pertains to Tank Dell. I don't know where I went wrong as it pertains to CJ Stroud. I just had no idea what happened. And it just pains me. It's just literally depressing because I don't get it. So we're just crying about it. And Logan wants to know how much fab on Hopkins. Go with a good 23%. Not quite a quarter. Not quite a fifth. 23%. Everyone. Although there might be one. Here we go. Harry Snowman has a good quote. With Tank, he just has to keep going. I believe in Tank. Believe he'll be able to make some big-time explosive plays. He just has to keep going, and we'll do that. I have all the faith in Tank. I agree. I do think that Tank Dell has some gas left in the tank. But there also just seems to be something off. I don't know. Like, he had 2 drops last week that were just not characteristic of him. He's had a few of those really all season where it's like this close to a touchdown and he just can't bring it in, or the defender gets there. It's not placed right. Like, something is just not clicking. And I don't know if it's just, I mean, he had a really tumultuous offseason, so maybe his head just isn't totally in it. I don't know. CJ Stroud's also just not playing that well. So I just do not know. And I'm lost. I'm just sad about it. I'm just depressed about it. It doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much. Hey, thank you for the subscribe, Thomas. Welcome to the Wake and Take. We're here every morning, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern, talking the good talk, speaking for the people. That's what we're here for. So I hope to see you again, Thomas, and I hope to see you all over the rest of the season and off season. We know we're here. We're here always. I mean, we're on I think we're almost to 600 episodes. It's kind of crazy how quickly we're getting there. But everyone, again, I can't say it enough. I appreciate you all so, so much for spending your morning with me, caring about what I have to say about this sport that we love. I hope you all hit that like button. I hope you all subscribe. And I hope to see you all tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern for a little bit of a Week 8 preview. We'll be giving my top starts and sits, and we'll be making some fun little game picks at the end of it, as well as going over the bigger news stories of the week, which has been a lot of them. So go ahead and make sure you hit that like. Make sure you subscribe. Have a terrific Wow, it's Wednesday. Have a wonderful Wednesday and a fantastic rest of your week. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.